Yeah! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Racer X Exhaust podcast, brought to you by Yoshimura, 65 years of four-stroke research and development. Check them out at yoshimura-rd.com. And wait for it. Podcast! Podcast! Yeah! All right, we wanted to get that out of the way because I want you to get to this interview and listen to it. Now, there are 372 approximately motocross podcasts that have kicked up in the last 18 months, this being one of them. I'm trying to do it differently than others. I interview people that I think are interesting within the motorcycle world, not always just pulling people from the Supercross podium. And the reason I do that is because from being around as long as I have, I've found that often the riders at the very top are not the best to articulate what they're going through. They're under such a microscope where all the words can and will be used against them on social media by fans, in contract negotiations, by other teams, whatever it might be, that a lot of times they have to be very guarded. Now, the off-road racers, and I know a lot of them very well, I've covered off-road racing for a long time, they are essentially experiencing the same highs and lows, the same pressures. They're not making as much money, but guess what? Their lives revolve around winning the next race or winning the next title, and they ride and die based on that. So they have a lot of the same perspective, but they're more willing to talk about it accurately and honestly because I don't think they just get the same blowback that the other riders do. And Colton Haaker is a perfect example of this. Now, Haaker is the two-time and now defending champion of Endurocross. But on the side, he has this entire business called Playco, where he's making vlogs, he's making YouTube videos. You should just type in Colton Haaker and Heater right now. It's a really cool video that he launched, I think, over a year ago now, which is just an edit of all the incredible things he can do in one lap. The dude does backflips, the guy does whips, 360s. As an Endurocross rider, he can go over gnarly terrain. It's really cool. So now he's taken it to another level with an actual film that you can purchase to download on iTunes and Amazon and all those places. 45 minutes with Colton Haaker, but it's not just about Colton Haaker. It is about Colton Haaker, but more importantly, it's him trying to articulate chasing this dream, how difficult it is to get there, what it takes to accomplish it when you know maybe you have the talent and skill, but what are the missing elements? And then when you do get there, what's it like when you get there? And then what's it like when you fail? And how do you get back on top? These are all the things that the Supercross riders are dealing with right now. And as a matter of fact, in this conversation that you'll hear, we talk about what Ryan Dungey and Ryan Villopoto probably went through and why that probably led them to retire early. It's not just the training, by the way. And maybe what Jason Anderson experienced coming into 2019 after winning the title last year. So a couple of things you can learn from this podcast. A, you should probably check out Colton's new film. Not video, we're calling it a film. It's higher minded than that. It is called Rare Exception. You can find it on iTunes right now. So that's A. B, you can get to know Colton, which is cool. But C, you can use his perspective to understand what the life of a racer is like. Probably better than some of the racers in Supercross and Motocross can articulate right now. So I appreciate that, and I want to get this over quickly so you can listen to it. But first, just a reminder, go to racerxbrand.com. Check out all the cool stuff we have, shirts, hats, backpacks, things with shields on them, and get 20% off if you type in exhaust in all capital letters. And we have a live show coming up for sure at the Denver Supercross. That's on Friday night, April the 12th. I think we're going to have one in Indy. So if you're going anywhere near the Indianapolis Supercross, carve out some time Friday night. I'm pretty sure we've got a venue and we're going to lock that in. If you're near Denver, make sure you come and visit us Friday night. Go to pulpmx.com. He's got the info. We've got it on RacerX. Come join us. Now, join Colton Haaker. Listen to this, folks. Listen. Whether you follow Endurocross or not, this is a fascinating conversation. I think the first time I met you might have been at the second Endurocross ever. I don't even know how old you would have been back then. You're like 12, 15? Super young.
You showed up at the second Endurocross ever that you've been to? Or
No, the second one they ever had. I wasn't at that very first one in Vegas. Were you at the next one? Like the second year they ever had it when it was a one-off race? Were you around all the way back then?
No, I didn't. I didn't race. I just showed up as a fan, and it's kind
Nuh-uh.
of funny. Yeah, I had
Oh.
like a funny this. My dad's buddy had made like a hard hat, like a construction hard hat. Put a like a helmet, like a light on the front, like a headlight, and
Hmm.
handlebars off the side, like antlers and handguards. And I like wore that with an air horn, and totally pissed off the dude in front of me, blowing his ear out in the stands. Yeah, I
Were
was
you,
really into it. I was
apparently.
2006. Yeah, I was. That was 2006. Yeah, I'd been 16, and then the next year I raced it on the trials bike, and I was 17.
Oh, okay. So it would have been the third year they had it, the third ever that I would have met you. But actually, that story from the first time you went is perfect, even though you didn't race it. I've always felt from day one that you had a bit of showmanship besides racer in you. Like you wanted to be more than just results, results, results. Did you sense that about yourself right off the bat?
No, no, not at all. Like I
No.
totally, no, I totally just, I honestly, like growing up, I really idolized Carmichael for his hard work and determination and just getting the job done. So then I kind of modeled myself after him as like for racing and accomplishments, and like every kid does now. Really, it's like a comparison to the GOAT, you know.
Sure.
So that was like my upbringing was like watching Carmichael number 70. I had it on my KX60, the whole deal, and then I also idolized Pastrana, and he was like the opposite, right?
Yes.
So he was like he can put. I mean, he could win a race, but he couldn't just keep it together. He wanted to go ride freestyle, and he wanted to go. He was entertaining, and he was just pure entertainment. And so I just really, I don't know, I was just drawn to like two polar opposites, and so when I got a little bit more into my career, it was like I want to win races, and then I also, I don't know, I'm just drawn to do other things too. So I think that comes from just idolizing Pastrana too, you know. So
Well, that's exactly where I was going. The first time I ever interviewed you, you did a good interview, and you're like, I'm trying to make my interviews kind of like Travis Pastrana. And it's funny now, we're looking, dude, this is more than 10 years ago now. But like in some ways, you are a Travis Pastrana like. You have a successful racing career, but then you have all this side stuff. And by the way, you can do backflips. So it's kind of worked out. I don't know if this is the way you planned it, but it is kind of like I feel like there's two Colton Hakers. There's like vlogger side, cool video, doing fun stuff, Colton Haker, and then when it's time to race, you go race.
Yeah, it's getting really hard to manage. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
having like two different personalities is really tough. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah,
maybe there's there's drugs involved or something you could use
yeah,
for that.
no. But honestly, it's like to the point that I am now. I honestly just like riding my motorcycle, and I like riding everything. Like I've just been drawn to just ride. I mean, obviously, I did trials for a few years professionally, and I still ride trials regularly because there's a challenge to everything in off-road racing, motocross. I dabbled in, even did straight rhythm, and then the 360 and flips and just unique kind of like trick video stuff. I don't know. I just like the challenge. I really do like the challenge, and I like riding my motorcycle, and I feel like every form of dirt bike riding has something cool and unique to it, and that's I just want to do it all. I like it all. It's awesome.
Yes, I think your story at least is known as like, oh, he started in trials. But is that really true, or were you doing a whole bunch of stuff? You mentioned having a KX60. You didn't mention trials.
Yeah.
Did you do a lot of stuff all along?
Yeah, no. My dad was a IST gold medalist in the '80s, so he brought me up riding like off road, and so he just took me everywhere with him and all his buddies, and so we go like camping trips and whatnot. So I was brought up like riding trails and we go to motocross tracks, but I'd only get to ride practice days, and that happened for a really long time. And I got to race here and there by the time I was like 13, 14. And then motocross was like, yeah, Carmichael was the guy. So I was like, I want to motocross. Got too many concussions. Parents said no more. Sold my bike, and then didn't have a bike, and then I picked up a trials bike because I got some good grades in school, and I was just really like, missing the dirt bike, and so they got me a trials bike because they felt like that'd be safer, and so I started doing that like obsessively.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just watching videos every night and trying to learn, and then endurocross kind of came out, and that was after I'd kind of gone pro in trials and been like, I mean, I was a decently good amateur motocross rider. I didn't get to race a lot, but I mean, my one time I did get to go to like Mammoth or whatever. I finished, I think I finished sixth overall behind like Villapoto and Nicoletti and I can't remember, but we're just kids on 80s, like 14 to 16,
but
class.
legit dudes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Mammoth. Mammoth isn't Loretta's by any means, but I mean it was the California Amateur National, right? So we went and we did like a family trip out of it and went and checked out Yosemite, and yeah, I mean that was just like a fond memory. But yeah, that's mainly my background. And then Endurocross came out, and picked up with Lucas Oil right away, and things just kind of kept evolving from there. I did a couple of national television commercials for Lucas that I produced with a friend of mine and sold to Lucas Oil, and those got ran every national like broadcast on NBC or whatever it was at the time, right? Like every commercial was like this kid throwing his dirt bike up a massive rock or like the side of a building, and it was far before my name was ever like really deserving or credible at the time. I was nobody, but because I produced this cool video and made a commercial out of it for Lucas Oil to use, it was a good promotion for them and for me. So it just helped, create my name a little bit further. And that was like the very first. That was before Instagram. Mm-hmm. That was before like Facebook really got big, and then that started coming, and that was when I was like, videos and doing cool tricks, and it just kind of kept snowballing and evolving.
That's what I'm saying, dude. The two Colton Haakers. You were a racer up and coming, but then you had this other thing. But did you? And we'll talk here. Like you have this video out now. Can we use the word video? Do we call
it? It's a film.
Film. Thank you.
It's 45 minutes. I mean, it's a full-on like production story, a whole deal. Like
I don't want to use video. It's not. This doesn't give enough credit.
No, that's like Instagram nowadays.
That's right.
iPhone.
And is it tracking just, hey, I want to be a professional racer, or does it actually get into all these other things that you did? Because I don't know if the professional racer thing was always what you thought was going to happen. I mean, heck, you weren't in the mainstream sports. You weren't just a Supercross, up and coming guy.
Well, growing up, motocross was a thing. That's what I wanted to do. But because of my injuries and the path that I had taken to get to a point of racing a motorcycle professionally, that was the direction I went. But that's what I had to do to accomplish my dream of racing a motorcycle. At that point, when parents sold the bike, it became it didn't matter anymore what it was. It just mattered that I went as far as I possibly could at riding a motorcycle to make it possibly a professional career for me. And so that was the path I took. But what was your question again?
That's the path you took, but is that I'm getting into what the film? Yeah, is that part of the story that you had to take this somewhat bizarro path to go where you need to go?
It really, honestly, the beginning of the film touches on basically following your dream, and for me, that was the direction I had to go to keep chasing my dream. So my path wasn't perfect by any means, but I still got to this point where, okay, I'm here as a professional now. So the narrator talks about how, did you follow your dreams? And this is the story of someone, who did. And it shows, it shows the whole thing. It shows, 50, 60, 80, but just short clips and the evolution of it, moving it forward into Colton today. And then introduces my life, my family's life, all in this very comedic, fun, cool, well-produced shot way at my house here in Southern California. And then from there, it talks about basically how this is Colton today. This, at 29 years old, he has traveled the world, won multiple national world championships, and has established himself as a, professional off-road racer. And then it talks about how at this point now, there's another side to the story. Everything seems peachy fine, and then another side of the story is there's now this pressure to continue to live this life. I have to live in a world of pressure because now I've found myself at the top of the sport, and the reality is there's nowhere else to go but down, and I'm feeling the fear of failure and pressure that I need to overcome to continue. And I have a really bad season. So we get into some racing, and I have a really bad season with the Super Enduro Series as I come in as a 2-time defending world champion, come with an injury, and basically I basically succumb to the fear of failure, and there's some nightmare stuff going on in the film, literally acting by me.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean it's full on, like yeah. So I'm succumbing to the fear of failure, and come to the point where the series has now finished, and I am in another bad dream, and the Reaper has has my jersey on fire, and that's it. I'm washed up. You know, that's the kind of feeling and the idea that you get from this. And
is that a feeling that you, maybe not quite that dramatic, but is that a feeling you actually had in your career or in your life? Like, I might be done now. I might not get back to this championship level. Was that what you were wrestling with for real?
Yeah. I mean, my injury with my elbow, it wasn't like it wasn't career ending.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of, athletes and stuff, obviously, when you have just like a horrible off season and you just can't, there's times where you just can't figure it out. You know what's going on. I mean, look at Cooper 2 years ago, or the last 2 years, I'm sure he was beating his head against the wall and still trying very hard, but things weren't happening. And it took, okay, I got to take a step back and reevaluate where I'm at, reevaluate what I need to do, where I need to go. And for him, putting those pieces of the puzzle were, a few essential things, team and bike and trainer and, changing it up. So every athlete has these ups and downs, but in the end, you need to, be analytical, reevaluate, gain perspective, and apply to be, further your career and to overcome that fear of failure. And so that's how the film kind of, in the end resolves itself, because I make a reference to like Graham Jarvis, who I go and ride with in England, and his career was at 30 years old. He had a pretty successful trials career, but never a champion. A lot of second places. And then at 30 years old, most people would have said, "Hey, Graham, you've had a good career, but the younger generation has surpassed you, and it's been a good ride, man. But it's time to walk, throw in the towel, or not throw in the towel, but just like step away and do something else. I mean, you've had a good run, good job. You've had a good career. You should be proud. But it's time to get a real job, basically." Right. And instead of that, he becomes this, gets a dirt bike and does hard enduro and gets way more successful than he ever did in trials, winning multiple prestigious races and becoming basically a world champion of extreme enduro riding at 30 plus 30, the last 10 years. So from 30 to 40, and it's that's reference to Graham's career at the point of which I'm 29 and having all these doubts and fear of my career ending is a part of my perspective, that my career isn't over, that you can move forward and overcome. And the other side of that as well is my daughter being born this year or last year, and that is also after my worst season to date. But she puts it in perspective for me that there's so much more to life than just racing. I've this human being who's dependent on me and gives me so much more joy and perspective on life than I ever thought. And so I become okay with winning or losing, and I find peace and happiness in in riding and the journey that it's taken me to, because in the beginning, I picked up a dirt bike to become Ricky Carmichael,
Mm-hmm.
and in the end, the thing I cherish most is the things that I never thought about. It was like the friends I have all over the world because of a motorcycle. It was my daughter that I have now, that I found my wife. Regardless of winning or losing, it has been a life worth pursuing because of a motorcycle. Because this motorcycle has brought me along this journey. Yeah, I chased this dream, but it's brought me so much more other things than I ever could have ever thought, And because of that, I have so much appreciation for the motorcycle and dirt bikes and what it does to bring community together. And I'll realize basically in the end that that no matter what, I'm going to ride dirt bike because it's like the most fun thing in the world.
So obviously, when you have a 45-minute film, we're going to say here, this is not an Instagram clip, and you've done some cool stuff with Playco on your YouTube channel and all this, but this is obviously super ambitious. So is the hope that this is so cool and inspiring and powerful that it's not just, hey, Colton Haaker fans, here's a thing for you? Is it the idea to inspire people on a little bit larger level than just you?
Yeah, I mean, it was trying to be as relatable as I could. I mean, there's something for everybody to take away from it. There's something like you can, you could be an aspiring, professional motocross, supercross, off-road racer, and you can look at the path of which I traveled and learn something from that. You could be in sport and be in a bad place and realize that there's ways to reevaluate and make adjustments to become a better athlete. Mm-hmm. There's the whole life perspective that it's there's so much out there for everybody to achieve and learn and to aspire for your dreams for.
Yeah.
And then and it's just it's just a big undertaking, honestly. It took me a year and a half to do, and a lot of help from a lot of really talented filmers and editors, and it was a lot of undertaking. It was, the goal was to do exactly that, inspire people, and then show dirt bikes on a larger scale.
Okay, so is this considered part of the Playco brand, which is a thing that you've been working on for a while, or is this an offshoot of that? How does that fit? Yeah,
so basically Playco produced and directed it. I mean, Playco is a media, company basically at this point. So Playco, basically is the idea of it, or came up with the idea of it, directed it, produced it. So
just a more ambitious or bigger project than Playco's done before.
Yep. The biggest one yet. And for me, it was a stepping stone for me. It's a proof of concept in what I would like to accomplish, and it's just part of my ultimate plan to do some cool things in the future. So it's a proof of concept, and hopefully people enjoy it, watch it, and then they're into the next thing. They want to be more intrigued to watch the next video, the next film. So
okay, so how can people go and actually see this? What do they need to do?
Yeah, so it's available on iTunes. Obviously, the title's Colton Haaker's Rare Exception. It's also available on Amazon, Amazon Prime, Vimeo on demand, and Google Play. So it's on every streaming platform. It's being distributed by The Orchard, which is they distribute all the, action sports films. So yeah, I mean, it's totally out there and available. And, I think I've gotten tons of great feedback, really good feedback. I mean, everyone that messaged me or had talked to me at the premiere had something different to say, each of them. They all took something different from it, and it's more than just a moto movie, but there's really, really, really good riding, really, really good stuff, unique things, and And there's also the cinematography and the way it's filmed and put together is really good too. So I mean it keeps you interested and invested in it, so you won't lose, you won't be like, oh, what's the next segment? Who's up next? Okay, all right, well, it's another corner, it's another whip. All right, well, okay, cool. But there's more to it. So
what's intriguing about all this to me is obviously when you're riding, you can't shoot yourself, but you have, as you told me in the past, you had to become pretty handy with the camera and editing and all this stuff with some of the projects you've had. Like, so you had to build these other skills off to the side of riding a dirt bike, right?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it was me looking at it, but I trust the people that were filming it. As far as building the skills and stuff, I did a lot of videos, like over 100 YouTube videos on my own.
Right.
So where I filmed, I bought the camera equipment. I got some lessons in editing from a friend, and then just kind of took off with it. But the cool thing about that is you can create it, and it's up to your discretion to put it together how you see it, and whether people like that or not, that's up to them. But it's unique, it's your own thing. You can put the camera however you want, and you can cut it here and put some music to that, and it's kind of cool because it only comes from you. It's not really copyable, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's impressive that you invested this extra time. I mean, look, editing is tedious and it takes a long time, and there's nothing about video that's time efficient. Even when you get good at it, it still takes a lot of time. So the fact that you basically were holding maybe 2 jobs isn't quite accurate, but you kind of were. Like, you could have just ridden and trained and say, that's my job. But you decided to invest your time in this completely other thing of learning to shoot and edit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, man. I mean, that just stems from the beginning, like just being interested in, both things. So Carmichael and Pastrana.
Yeah.
And just being like, I like both. There's a challenge to obviously racing and becoming the best athlete you can be. And I've accomplished quite a few goals and a couple championships now. And that's each championship is its own. But man, I realized that there's only one champion every year, but what, and that's rare. That's a rare thing, right? To be a champion is rare.
Yeah, to just say I have to win this title, that's the only way I'm going to make a living, that's the only way this is going to work. That's like winning the lottery. Like, that's not easy to do. It's not easy to say.
It's definitely rare.
Yeah.
But I think what I've valued even more is like the ability to bring to life what's in your head. And if you have these thoughts and these, imagination, and I think being able to bring that out for other people to enjoy, to see, is even more rare. I think that's even more difficult to me to do. And it might sound funny, but that's the way I kind of feel about it, because I don't know, just being from racing and accomplishing a couple goals on that end, and now this other challenge is just harder. It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I mean, I don't envy you, Jason. You're a really talented dude. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Like,
I appreciate that.
Your ability. You've done the same thing. You've evolved your career. I mean, I remember watching you on GNCC when you first started, and I think you told me when you got into this industry, you just wanted to be in it. You just loved it. You just liked bikes, and you wanted to do it. But then Davey Coombs or whoever said, "Hey, all right, we'll give you a shot. You can do the ATV, racer TV side of things at GNCC, right?"
Yes.
Right?
ATVs in the woods turned off every other potential job candidate, and I said, sounds good to me.
Right. And you took that challenge and you crushed it, and you evolved, and you kept pushing forward. And dude, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's no different than that's no different than the story that I'm portraying in the film. It's the same thing to me, like you saw yourself at this, you may not have seen yourself as you are today, but you had an idea, you had a thought that maybe that was something you wanted to pursue. And you took that initiative to make that happen, you know, and you pursued it and you kept striving, and things turned around and things came together, and it doesn't always work out, but it did for you too, in a way, right?
I'm glad you bring that up, because I always do feel this somewhat kinship with, and I hate to say this because obviously what you're doing or what a Supercross champion is doing is even more rare. It takes even more talent, more daring, more risk. So I never want to equate myself to that. But the one thing I can say that we probably all have in common is you, in general, need to have this ridiculous level of ambition. And that's cool. Like, you'd rather be ambitious than lazy, right? Like, that's a great quality to have. Mm-hmm. But on the downside, when you are that ambitious, if you're ambitious like I am or ambitious like you are, the disappointments really hurt because you really care. And these are really, your career is a passion. You're not just checking in 9 to 5 and getting your check, right? So it does probably get frustrating at times. I know it does for me, and it probably does for you. When you don't accomplish what you want to accomplish, when you're as ambitious as you are, it has to sting probably worse than other people. That's what I always feel.
Yeah, but I mean, the other side of the coin is when you accomplish it, it feels that much better.
Right.
When I win a race, I mean, when I won my first world championship, that emotion, I mean, I won on the last lap, and it was down to me and one other person to win, and it was up to that last lap. And when I crossed the finish line, that was crazy. It made up for the 7 or 8 years that I spent not winning and just getting demoralized. It was all worth it. Right,
but it did demoralize you. You weren't like, whatever. Like, because
no, it demoralized.
Absolutely,
absolutely demoralized me. But it became worth it. I stuck with it, you know, and I became analytical enough or introspective enough to realize what I need to work on and how I need to do it. The physical ability was always there in the beginning too, and then the mental capacity to understand how to make it happen is what I needed to figure out. And I didn't know that, but then I figured part of that out, and it came together. But getting back to basically, you know, the similarities between, you know, the racer's career and your career as well. I mean, you say that you don't like to compare the two or whatever, but fuck that, dude. Like, there's only one Jason Wygant.
I appreciate it.
There's only one Jason Wygant. There's only one guy that's out there making, you know, like
what I'm doing,
you're doing, and very well, you know, like you're making, you're just as much invested in the racing and the careers and your time. And I mean, dude, that's a rare thing.
Well, yeah. And I do appreciate it. And also I get what you're trying to do with this film, because what I'm always trying to get the racers to explain to me, like, I know that anyone at your level, I know how much ambition they have to have. I know the highs and lows that they must deal with, and that must suck. And then when you win, like you said, it's awesome. And it's always my job. I'm trying to just get you to tell me that story, to explain, because nothing's worse than, like, when you win, it is awesome because you do celebrate, you do go nuts. And it probably drives you crazy when you see other riders win big races and they go on the podium and they don't act like it's a big deal, because you know it is. You know it is. So for me, it's always, look, man, I know what it's like to be ambitious. I know what it's like to work hard to try to achieve something. Let me help explain how big a deal this is that you accomplished it. Now, luckily, you actually just did it. You actually did it in a 45-minute film. So thanks.
To be honest, though, man, like, I mean, you in that time frame, and you're in that position, you don't want to get too excited, because you know that the next time it can go the opposite way. No matter what, no matter how confident you are, there's always that thing in the back of your mind that says, this could be done tomorrow if I don't keep my head on straight and keep myself in check and make myself, you know, get to the point and get the job done. And that's why you see there's a lot of pressure, and that's why you see racers not show, you know, a ton of emotion or give you a lot too. Yeah. You know, there's more to these guys, but they're under the gun, man. They are really under a lot of pressure to do it again, and it mounts every time you get that win.
Yeah,
you say there's more confidence and they can do it. Yeah, there's that, but there's also the other side of the coin too, where if they don't do it, everyone's gonna say, What's up, dude? What's going on? It raises a lot of questions, you know?
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing it? You just did it. Why can't you do it again? There's a lot of those.
Is that what you were dealing with when you finally won the Endurocross title here, which you had worked so hard to get?
Yeah,
Now
well,
it's like there's no excuse to not win it again. You've
I
proven you
won
can do it.
3 in a row, and
Yeah.
I won the endurocross. I won 2 world titles, so I won a year and a half winning, and then I had an injury, and I lost the first endurocross title, and I went to the world championship under not 100% from my injury, and I struggled, and I was just fighting those inner demons to try to overcome, and that's why I had the nightmare scenes in the film, and that's the reality of it. Like once you're at the top, there's nowhere to go, man. You can't go any higher.
Yeah.
Like you have nowhere to go but down. Where else can you go? I mean, so that's how it feels. So as much as there's confidence inspiring to win races, there's the other side of it too that says if I don't keep doing this, then everyone's going to say, "What's up?" That he raises more questions. So the highs and the lows are equal, then that's why you see racers today that are, man, dude, it's a lot. That's why they're not up there they're not just up there just overly happy, because they know that their side is, if they don't do it again, then
See, this is why we need you around, because you're able to articulate it. You put it down in a 45-minute film you can download, but in general, you can articulate these things that probably every rider at this level is going through. I always make this argument. Villopoto and Dungey retired young, so to speak. They're actually younger than you are now. And everybody's like, oh, dude, the training. It just burns them out. And I'm like, I don't know. They're the only guys retiring early. I don't think it's a coincidence that guys that won 3 or 4 Supercross titles in a row said, I can't do this anymore.
No, dude. They live with a serious pressure.
Yeah.
They live with a serious amount of pressure. They live with the
fear of failure. I can't lose. If I lose, this is terrible because I know I can win. And if I blow this, this is not good.
Mm-hmm.
I've proven I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's they have to continue it or whatever. I mean, it's there's a word for it. They wear like the badge, like,
yeah.
Right. So they have to live at that level all the time. And to touch on what they do and whatnot, it doesn't really, I mean, a race can be a month in advance for me, but what I do today, a month ahead, affects a 7-minute race that I have 1 month from now. That's the way you look at it. And because if you don't eat the right thing, like, I'm slightly allergic to dairy, for example. If I get some cheese on my Chipotle burrito, that plays on me a little bit too. But I like cheese, man. I do. I really like dairy, but I know that if it makes it so that I can't breathe that good, and like it messes with my mucus, and then I have a little extra, and that's just a small thing. That's one little thing, but that's something that goes into it, right? And then the sleep and the preparation and the timing of it, and there's a lot, that goes into it. And those guys are at a really, really microscopic level. I'm lucky. I'm over here racing a dirt bike for a living, but not as many people. I'm not under the gun as much as they are. They're even more under the pressure and the microscope.
Hey, thanks for listening. See, told you this would be good. Check out Yoshimura, yoshimura-rd.com. 65 years of 4-stroke research and development. They have everything you need for your dirt bike, your street bike, your ATV. Awesome exhaust systems, and made right here in the United States of America. And go to racerxbrand.com and check out all our cool Racer X swag. 20% off if you type in exhaust in all capital letters. Let's get back to Colton. Yeah, expounding on these Supercross riders and what they go through, which is shockingly, really, folks, not that much different than him. Right. So as people told me in the end, when Villopoto won, say, his 4th title in a row and then decided to leave, they're like, you get to a point where it's more of a relief of, I didn't screw this up, as opposed to, I can't believe I just won this. It's not even enjoyable. It's just like,
the first one is, I can't believe I won this. The first one is, I can't believe I won this. And that's why there's just euphoria. It's why it's absolute. It's just euphoria. You can't believe it. It's where Cooper, when he won his first 450 this year, I mean, he was speechless. He didn't know what to say. Yeah. And then, same thing goes. But, look at Anderson. He was doing that last year. Look at him now. That was a lot. There was a lot of pressure on Jason to continue to win. And I don't want to say that his crash or his injury was a force of that, but it definitely had a weight on his shoulders to, why haven't I won yet? What's going on? My bike and pressure. And there's so many things that get in your head.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's really hard. But that's what the film touches on, a lot of that, and then moving forward past that, after I find peace and winning or losing, because I feel like success becomes it's subjective. Basically, it's whether you think you've accomplished or not. I mean, it's up to you. So it's failure or winning or losing is subjective. So anyways, I think
dude, you make it worse on yourself, because when you're running these two things, as I'm saying, you can look at the results on the track, and that's maybe a guide of if I've succeeded or not. But honestly, when you're doing a film or any kind of media thing like that, there is no results chart that says you did it best, you won. So it's really got to be hard to be satisfied with doing two things at once, especially one being art, which is there are no right answers. You just have to know. And I don't know, do you ever get to that point? When you watch this, did you pump your fist and say, nailed it? Or are you like,
yeah, as a perfectionist, I'd rather basically, like, if I had to paint a room,
yeah,
I would rather hire someone to paint it so I didn't see the imperfections than me paint it. Because I would, if I went in that room every time, I would see where I effed it up.
Yeah.
And the film has something that has a bigger scale of that, obviously. But I'm really happy with what we accomplished. Mm-hmm. This was very, very difficult to do. A lot of people came together that had nothing to do with it in the beginning at all. They didn't have the idea with me, but they stepped up massively for me, and I'm super appreciative of those people that did that and came together to help me out and make it happen. And I think that everyone that worked on it was extremely happy. They were all very pumped on it, and then I've gotten nothing but good things social media wise and comments, which is awesome. But to put it into a further perspective is, I don't know if I want to talk. I don't know if I want to talk about it, but I basically, I'll just say it.
That's what we're here for. Yeah.
That's what we're here for. It's the podcast.
Yeah, man.
I spent $50,000 of my own money to complete it.
Good Lord.
That's after I got sponsorships too. And that's the reality of it, but it became a passion project for me. It was something that I wanted to do right, regardless,
Yeah.
There's $40,000 of that was in music alone. I mean, I got 4 major labels. I got the White Stripes. I got, I tried to get Blind Melon, but I couldn't get it. They wanted $20,000 for that song.
Ooh.
I got Norman Greenbaum's Spirit in the Sky. I got a Parlor Mob song, and I got Marshall Tucker Band's Fire on the Mountain. Marshall Tucker Band? No, sorry.
The bottom line is you had songs you wanted and you weren't trying to cheap out. You're like, this is the way I want it to be, and if I got to pay for real music, you were willing to go down that path, although it probably sucked. But that's just what you wanted to do. You wanted to do it the right way.
I want to do it right. And so now the distributor sends me an email, and they say, hey, you can track your sales on this link. Mm-hmm. I got that, a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And you think that I would be clicking on that link to check to see, like, okay, did I get some sales today? Sales? No, I haven't looked. I'm scared to death to look at it. I don't want to know. I'm saying I've done everything I possibly can, Jason. I've put the film out there. I've marketed. I'm giving away a 125 motorcycle to promote it, to help in the promotion of it. Mm-hmm. I've made trailers. I've made teasers. I'm talking to you. Mm-hmm. I'm doing everything I possibly can. And that's all. That's all I can possibly do to at this point to promote it. And outside of that, it's out of my control. So I'm doing everything I can, and I'm scared to death to look at that link.
I'm glad you went there, though, only because, so this is not a, hey, if I start making movies and I can put them on iTunes, this is a money-making salary model for me. Like, you're just trying to get your money back to pay for this vision that you had. This is just, you're just hoping this turns out to be a break-even. This is not a attempt to make a profit. It doesn't sound like maybe it will be, but that's not how it started.
Yeah, no. I mean,
it's a passion project.
I would say it's a passion project. I would say that I did not realize that it would be as expensive as it was. I had no clue. I made vlogs and I thought I'm pretty good at this. I kind of know what I'm doing, but I also didn't have the time to continue vlogging, and I wanted to do a new challenge, make a new video. I had this thought, and that's what ended up happening. And then I got into it, and then it started to mount, all these expenses and things. I didn't really pay for one filmer either. I got help from the filmers involved. They all worked for free. They all helped me out. They all wanted to be a part of it.
So it could have been worse. Could have been a lot more.
It would have been another 50 if I had to pay for filmers and editors, for sure. I mean, their time is valuable, and it's expensive. It's really expensive. And I didn't know that, but now I do. And so moving forward, I hope I can, continue to make videos and films and do things, because I have a lot of ideas, and I have a lot of good ideas in my head, and I have a lot of screenplays, and I'd love to touch on all of them and make that stuff come to reality. That would be awesome.
In your line of work, you're not under the same microscope scrutiny on social media and all this stuff that the Supercross guys are. But have you gotten heat at times, even when you were, hey, I'm going to try to qualify for Hangtown, which you did way back, right? Didn't you do that? Make Hangtown? Okay, or you're doing backflips, which doesn't necessarily make you faster on an endurocross track, or you're doing all this stuff. Have you gotten any friction from people saying, like, this dude needs to focus? Have you gotten that?
Well, when I've crashed and I posted like failures of it, people give me a little bit of grief, but because I'm not under the microscope as much, I think that most people are just pumped to see the cool stuff and appreciate the fact that I'll go out of my way to do it. Okay. I would say that my team would have other things to say if I wasn't winning, but I've gotten myself back to a point where, I won the Endurocross championship and I'm leading the world championship again. So they really can't say anything. Okay. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, yeah, but that just adds more pressure. As long as you're winning, you're good. But now you gotta like double win.
I've gotten better at managing it, for sure. Yeah. I've gotten to the point where, I have these things I want to do right now, but I have a month till the final round. And so I'm holding back what, these extracurricular activities because, I need to get a job done. These extracurricular activities don't pay for my mortgage. They don't pay for, my daughter's clothes. So
the racing is still what does that, you're saying?
The racing is that does that, yeah. Okay. So there has to be a balance. You can't throw away a bonus for a backflip on Instagram at this point.
My last thing is, because you're in off-road, which is never as secure job-wise as motocross, and honestly, even motocross is a joke if you want to talk about job security. Like, none of these things. Professional athletics, especially in dirt bikes, not the most secure way to make a life. So was part of all this stuff you're doing like a little bit of like, if I promote myself, maybe that'll help me get a ride, or maybe this is a job when I'm done. Was it a little bit of like a backup plan B, or do you have no clue why you're even doing it?
No, I mean, I know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. Okay. I think I just, like I said, I have a lot of ideas in my head, and I have the desire to want to bring those things to life, and I think it's a value personally. I think my ability to produce this kind of stuff and make it engaging, relatable to consumers, people that desire to ride dirt bikes, maybe don't have one and or already are involved in the sport. It's unique. Like I said, sure. It's rare to be a racer, it's rare to be a champion. But I think it would be even more rare to be able to produce one-off content, because no one else can think. Everyone has the ability to think, Jason, but not everybody's thought is worth a shit. How about that?
Okay. I'll put yours in high regard. Right. So you have this other thing, and you might as well utilize it. Yeah.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I can't spend $50K on another project,
No.
but I would say that if there was a future for me,
Yeah.
that would be my goal. So I'd love to make that a possibility. But we will see. We will talk the next time, and we'll see how far along I've gotten.
Okay. Well, yeah. See, first I think it was like vlogs and heater, which is on YouTube. So this is a much more ambitious thing. So the pattern is going more and more ambitious. So let's see if this continues.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it does. Yeah, so we'll see what the next thing brings, but we'll find out. I mean, it'll be awesome to bring that stuff out and show people some cool stuff. Some cool ideas and some cool writing. So
yeah,
it'd be awesome.
All right, yeah. So this is,
and you might see me at a Motocross National too. You never know.
God, it's got to be so tough for anyone at your level because, like, there's many things you can do, and it could probably be cool, but there's always these risks. So, man, that's got to be such a tough balance to decide where to show up. I mean, you got some weekends where you can do other stuff, but that's got to be a tough decision.
Well, you could just be non-ambitious and just sit at home on the off weekends and be happy. I mean, there's certain ways. Yeah, there's definitely different ways to go about it. I mean,
that's not
we'll
you.
See. Yeah, we'll see what happens. You got to weigh it out, and so, anyways, but
I'd be pumped on that.
I'm hoping that people are pumped on the film and want to go see it and relate to it, and if they do, if you guys like it, anyone out there who wants to see it or sees it, just shoot me a message on Instagram, and I'd appreciate it, and I'll write you back and get back to you, and that'd be awesome.
Okay, so you're not so big that there's an agent or a management group doing that. That's actually you, right?
I've gotten back to everybody that's DM'd me about the film in the last cool. three days. Just it's been cool. A lot of kids on there all messaging me and saying, this inspired me, and this is totally awesome. I really appreciate it. Blah blah blah. And so I try to get back to all of them. And
here, I'll let you plug the film for the moto fans that maybe would be listening to this and maybe they haven't watched your other stuff. Like, it's not just videos of you going over logs. I'm assuming there's a lot of jumps and stuff too. I mean, I've seen you do moto stuff. You know what you're doing.
Oh yeah. No, there's a lot of moto stuff. I'm in my I made a unique, basically straight rhythm course on the top of a mountain ridge, and that's filled with 150-foot doubles and whips and 360 and backflip, and I mean, there's all that, and then there's the racing side of it, which is I ride over logs, which is the simple form of it, but it's a little more technical than that. But
well, I just, for moto people who want to see a film with some big air and some cool tricks, you've got those too.
It's got all that too.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I like riding everything, so there's a little bit of everything in it.
So there it is, Colton Haaker, one of the most multi-talented, maybe the most multi-talented motorcyclist there is right now. The dude can do freestyle stuff like backflips and 360s. He's an endurocross champ. He's awfully handy on a motocross track. I don't know how he even contains himself. I think he's doing his best to merely contain himself with just the racing and the video stuff. And he'd probably want to do 17 other more things, but he's trying to harness it and focus in the right direction. I was about to go to the Grand National Cross Country opener this weekend in South Carolina, but it has been rained out, so can't go. And look, I go to GNCCs now under the guise of research because I still announce the television shows, but I'm really just there to race. So I was getting my bike worked on. I was getting ready to go racing for 2 hours on Sunday morning, but that race is now rained out. So I'm back on the Supercross trail. I will be in Detroit this weekend. What a phenomenal season we have. I really was skipping Detroit because I wanted to go to GNCC, but after that race we had last weekend in Arlington, I'm like, man, it's going to be hard not to go to a Triple Crown dropped right in the middle of this epic championship fight. The Juvenation machine for Cooper Webb, Ken Roczen still in it, the mystery or the mysterious Eli Tomac. What is going to happen? This is such a pivotal round. So hope to see you folks in Detroit. Come to our live show before Denver and possibly before Indianapolis, I feel like someone who knows they're going to run for president, but for whatever reason, they can't say it yet. So I can't officially say we're going to do one in Indy, but I think it's coming. That'll be Friday night. And let's hope this weekend we just have a race instead of a focus on all these other things. We've gotten more than we could have ever wanted as far as having to do deep digging journalistic work at Supercross. First, we had the whole lime in the soil situation from San Diego. That led to a big meeting with the media, and then also Feld having meetings with the riders in Minneapolis. And then it happened again this weekend in Arlington over the CBD oils, which some riders are trying to get sponsorship with or have sponsorship with, namely Dean Wilson and Chad Reed. CBD oil sponsorship, meaning logos on your bike or your gear or your helmet, they're now banned. You cannot have them at the stadium. You can do whatever you want during the week, put it on your social media, your YouTube channel, whatever, but you can't have them at the stadiums. That obviously was very controversial because we all want the riders and teams to have as many revenue streams as possible, and CBD oil, which, by the way, does not have enough THC, and some of the products have zero THC, it cannot produce a high. It is not like smoking weed or ingesting weed. So CBD oil is really marketed as an anti-inflammatory. Some people take it with some pills or gummies, or some people take it as ointment you can rub on. That's not the problem. No one has a problem with using it. It's not even on the WADA banned list. The riders are allowed to use the CBD oil. The problem is, even though a farm bill passed which makes products derived from hemp, such as CBD oil, legal, the full set of regulations by the Food and Drug Administration have not been put into place yet. So even though it is legal, no one is entirely sure what that means. How is it sold? How is it packaged? How is it marketed? And Supercross and these stadiums and NBC do not want to be the test case for finding out that this is not the way you're supposed to market it. They're very worried. Look, there's tons of products out here that have tons of different restrictions as to how they can be promoted. So until they know exactly how it's going to work on the advertising, marketing, and promotional side of CBD oils, they will no longer allow riders to promote them at the track. If you want to take it, fine. Feld brought out their Vice President of Public Affairs, Stephen Payne. That essentially means a lobbyist. Who knew Feld had a lobbyist? We're learning so much lately. He lives and works in Washington, D.C., just for situations like this. He filled us in. I learned a lot. If you want to take CBD oils, no problem. Feld has no problem with it. They don't have an opinion. Sounds good. Do it. You just can't put the logos on your helmet or on your bike or your jersey or anything like that, at least for now. I have a sneaking suspicion the FDA will find out these products are fine and there's no problem, and the riders will be able to start marketing it, and then the revenue streams will open. But as of now, can't do it. But it's okay, because I think Chad and Dean's social media presence are enough for them to keep the sponsorships they have. Dean, definitely that's the case. Chad, he told Mathis after the race it hasn't cost him any money yet, this rule change. But surely there are other people that would like to get in on this. And it'll probably happen. It's just not there yet. Anyway, thanks to the Supercross folks at Feld for bringing in people to talk to the media to explain this so we can learn more about it. But let's move on to the racing. And check out some swag. Go to racerxbrand.com. Type in exhaust in all capital letters. Get 20% off your order. But most importantly, check out Yoshimura-RD.com for everything you need. Exhaust systems for street bikes, dirt bikes, or ATVs. Yoshimura-RD.com. 65 years of research and development. And these pipes, these exhaust systems, these parts are made in the USA. That's our show for this week. Thanks to Colton Haaker. Thanks to you. See you next time.